I'm going to dive right into it. Again, my guest today is Judah Tarman. He's a teenager out of Radisson, Saskatchewan. He has written one book is published, the other book's being worked on, or is that one officially published too now?
No, I've got two out now.
Two out now? Perfect. He's got a YouTube channel, which we'll talk about a bit later too, on finance. And he also runs a little business of his own, a gem museum in Radisson there. And so I don't know about everyone watching, but Judy, you are way more accomplished than I was at your age, that's for sure. I always had a bit of a business mind and things like that. And I dabbled here and there, but definitely didn't take it to the level you have. I mean, people talk about writing books all the time, and adults with a whole career ahead of them have never gotten around to do it. You've got two out, so that's very impressive. I've given a bit of a background on you, but to finish that and round that out, could you just share a bit about some more info about you, hobbies, interests, what got you involved in this in the first place a little bit, and I'll let you take the floor.
Well, I'm 16. I'm actually 17 in around 9 days, so that's something to look forward to. From
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. Soon. Yeah. I'm from Radisson, Saskatchewan. I own the Sisula Mineral and Gem Museum. What started it was my family bought me actually a rock polisher when I forget when exactly, but my father and I, we would go out to like the train tracks and the gravel pits around here, and we'd go and pick them up and throw them in the polisher and polish them up. And that's kind of what really got me started. And then I started purchasing various pieces from like here and there, different places. And I finally met a gentleman outside Saskatoon. His name was Sisula. He was actually a very kind gentleman. He was a quadriplegic. And about 4 months after of buying and trading with him, he actually caught double pneumonia and passed away. And his wife phone said that he'd left his collection of me and he wanted me to do something good with it for kids. And so that's kind of how it all started. But
that's fantastic. I mean,
yeah,
that's a really interesting way of how you got involved. I was a big coin guy back when I was younger, collected old coins.
Yeah, you were mentioning that.
And had a little stash going on. But it's interesting, there's a difference between having a hobby and, doing that on your own and then turning into something.
It's a little bit of an obsession.
Yeah. Hey, but that's how good business happens.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. You have to be a little obsessed about your thing.
Yeah. You got to be passionate about it. People see that. I love, when those got passed along to you, that, the message was, hey, do something for other people with this. And now you've done really well. Someone in our office actually mentioned, it might've been Carrie, but they brought up maybe I'm trying to remember who it was, Jackie maybe, that their kids were very familiar with your museum. They were like,
really?
A whole bunch. Yeah, they weren't stopping by there when they're driving in there from out of town. I think it would have been Jackie then in that case. So, your impact spreads, that's Saskatchewan, right? It spreads farther than you ever think.
Yeah, it's kind of a little place in the middle of nowhere, so.
Yeah, it's cool. Very cool. I see. So we have some more guests that have been joining in.
Hey, perfect.
Denise, Mary. Again, these are just people's names that pop up. If you're in the crowd and you're watching, feel free to drop a comment, say hi. We will be doing questions at the end of this. So if you put a question in there or anything you'd like to hear from Judah, then we'll get to it at the end. So by all means, put it now while it's fresh in your head, though. See, we got Pat there too. People are trickling in there. So awesome. But appreciate you sharing some of that background. And again, the remarkable part is Judah's 9 days away from 17. He's got business he's running. He's got 2 books that have come out. Doing interviews like this, that again, it's a step up. So
I've got some more things on the road as well. So
cool. We'll touch on that near the end here, but what's coming up. So I want to bring it back to a little bit about the books, and we'll tackle these questions both in one, perhaps. What got you motivated to get into financial literacy, and a secondary question to that is, how did that turn into writing a book?
Well, what inspired me to do it was, since I'm homeschooled, I had a lot of advantages, I'd say, over normal kids. I was able to do stuff in my free time and such. And I started mowing lawns is how I originally started and how I first got my money. But I opened the store and everything, and I'd always have my friends like coming after school and coming in, and they'd be very frustrated because they were stuck in school and I had my own museum and I was making money. And so I guess that's kind of where I got the idea to start a book of it to share my information and knowledge about the subject. I wouldn't say I was the most knowledgeable, but some knowledge is better than none. But I'd say that's what really got me motivated into writing it, because sitting down and talking with everyone is great, one on one is great, but I couldn't share that knowledge every day all the time. So I put it down into a book. Reviving the Art of Innovation was my first one, which it was nonfiction, and it was I found that it was really hard for a lot of younger people to read it and pay attention as well. And so I simplified it, but I wrapped it into the 1001 Arabian Nights kind of stories. And so it's not that it's an informational book, but it is it's what would be the word for it? It's a fantasy book, I'd say. It's basically a street kid going from rags to riches.
Mhm.
And lost my train of thought there. Um,
That's
but
the title of that book that's the richest kid in Babylon.
that's The Richest Kid in Babylon. I've actually got a copy right here
Oh, I was gonna say I
of
was
it.
gonna try to put a thing in there.
Yeah,
Yes, please do
it's
show.
probably
Like,
backwards, but
this is what I need to emphasize. This isn't like oh, this was an online
yeah,
doc that gets circulated. It's a real
no,
book. It's
it's a real
got a
book.
cover and everything, right? Like it's this is the real deal. This is published. It's printed, and that's just a really cool thing. I like. I'll maybe while you're thinking, if you had anything else you wanted to add there, Judah,
Yeah.
your point about you know digesting the idea down a little bit
Hmm.
from the original book or the original
Yeah.
writings, where today you could argue that point so much further. People's attention spans are just so
Yeah.
small, right? It's you don't have people don't want to sit
Well, there's
in.
so many things that
Yeah.
just aren't interesting, right? Like if you get someone enveloped and interested in something, they can pay attention for hours. I mean, like take video games for example. I I knew a person who like he had ADHD the whole lot. He couldn't pay attention to anything for like 5 seconds, but he'd be on his video games for hours on end. So as long as you're like interested in something and you love something, you can pay attention for hours. And so that's why I want to try and wrap the information into a fun plot, because I found that when it's interesting and fun, it also sticks a lot better.
Mhm.
And so I wanted it to be a fun journey, but as well as the information as well.
Yeah, I love that approach. And it touches on a kind of a broader topic of the idea of gamification and how you nailed it, Judah. It's someone who can't pay attention in a classroom setting for more than a couple minutes can
Oh yeah.
sit dialed in, so focused on
Oh yeah.
something for ages.
It's
Someone
because
that
it's interesting. I
is
mean, you're
yeah,
stuck in a classroom, you're sitting in nice little neat rows, and what's fun about it? I mean, there's a
yeah.
whole lot different when like even field trips I'd say are better because like you get to go out and explore and see things.
Mhm.
But it's just you're in a classroom, you read out of a book really and you just say it back. I mean, I know so many teachers that they don't even teach anymore. They just read out of the book and say it to the kids.
Yeah, yeah, it's you've hit it well on there. It's you do have to make it interesting, especially nowadays. Especially now, the demand for that instant. Someone can pull up their phone, like when
Instant gratification, instant
I feel
reward.
like I'm using a line that people have used with me before. I'm dating myself, but it's not even dating because I'm not going that far. But like when I was in high school, elementary school, we didn't have smartphones. So if I was
Yeah.
bored in class, I didn't have something I could instantly be entertained with, which is very
Yeah.
different now, right? It's very different.
It's very different. It's instant gratification.
Yeah, yeah. I saw a great YouTube video. I'll maybe dig it up and put it in the comments later too. That talked about he called it the Super Mario effect. It's a guy named Mark Rober, I think that's his name. Does a
Okay.
lot of great like kind of science engineering style videos, and he talked about this like a more or less a study or a thing that they did, which proved how much more engaging people were when it was treated like a game. Like
Oh yeah.
they would do the exact same task, exact same whatever they wanted people to
Well,
do,
it's because it's fun then.
it's because it's fun and it feels
Yeah.
like a game and it feels like the way the success and failures of a game
Yeah.
are viewed differently in that sense. And that's that's dialing back into how do you keep people's attention and how do you make
Yeah.
them actually engage with something, because engaging is how you learn. It's not just sitting there and having it hit you in the face, right?
Exactly. That's what makes it fun and what like it makes you enthusiastic about it. I mean, you go to school all day just to get sent home so you can do more school at home.
Yeah. No,
There's a good reward.
it's a
But
great point. And I love that you figured that, that mentality out a little bit when you wrote the first book. So then the Richest Kid in Babylon, that's book number 1, or is that book number 2 then?
Richest Kid in Babylon was the second one I wrote.
Okay, yes.
I've got the two here.
Yeah,
So
let's take a look at the first
I've
one
got
quick.
Reviving the Art of Innovation. I'm not sure how well this will come
Oh
up
yeah,
for you
no, that
guys.
looks great. Fantastic. Okay.
But yeah. But in the second one, I've actually got some more graphics as well. So on some of the, like the chapters,
Oh yeah.
we'll have some more graphics just to pretty it up a little bit.
Hmm.
Um,
So for someone watching right now, what would be like the target for this book? If someone's thinking, oh my God, like, this sounds really interesting.
mhm.
This might be something I might get for my kids. What would be like a recommended, like obviously like a 3-year-old isn't going to be working this, but does it go like, what's your kind of age range that you find it's valuable?
Any age really. That's kind of why I wrapped into the 1001 Arabian Nights stories, because like it's entertaining, but it's also fun. Like you can read this as like a bedtime story to your kids, or you can read it yourself.
Hmm. I like it. You brought up a good point. I got read to a ton when I was a kid, right? It
Me
was
too.
is Berenstain Bears and other things, which kind of, in a way, good children's books always do have some kind of lessons, right? There's little
Yeah,
bits of things that you want to imprint on kids, but how many of them ever touched on financial literacy, financial
yeah,
information in a way that's fun and entertaining? So that's a great point. Could be that kind of bedtime storybook that you just are subtly dropping these bits of information. It starts
yeah.
at a young age.
That was kind of the idea of it.
Yeah, awesome. So
Yeah.
then, outside of that, what else do you have going on? I touched on the YouTube channel before, but I'd like to hear a bit more of what you do with that channel, how it helps educate, things like that. How people watching or their kids should look to keep connected with what you're up to.
Mhm. Well, it comes back again to like kind of the short attention spans nowadays. So I edit and film the step by step millionaire. I get someone else to talk though. Um, but it's just the short little clippets of kind of things that you can like stop doing to become wealthy, as well as like things why not, and kind of just various things, short little episodes. I usually try and keep them under 10 minutes, so that way it's short, it's quick, and the information's there.
Hmm. No, I like that approach too. And again, it hits on that. You have to be concise, right? It's not about trying to
Yeah,
teach guys a whole course in a YouTube clip. It's about giving them little tidbits at a time that are going to
exactly.
add up.
I mean, so many people just like you go through this whole long line of stuff, and it's just like buy our course. It's just
Yeah.
it's like great, we could have found that out in 30 seconds that we were supposed to buy the course. But I've got a video on that as well of um how so many people just do that, right? Because it's the way that they make money. It's how they get rich.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's refreshing to have it be a bit of a different take where there isn't some sort of, at the end, there's some sort of a sell. I wanted to mention too, Judy, here we have a
Mhm.
comment from Marine. Says, love this. Such a thoughtful young man. Will be getting both books for my grand boys. Thanks so much, Judah. And Marine, I'll also post the Amazon link for Judah's books too, so that you can see them there. But again, I love that you've taken a bit of the print and book material as one area to get this message across, as
Mhm.
well as the YouTube channel, right? Because that's an easy thing. People listen to something on the way to work or while they have a break. You have
Yeah.
to hit them in both realms. They're not going to have a paper book on them all the time. But I love that you tackled kind of the old channel and the new channel a little bit there.
Yeah, that's the goal, at least. That's the goal.
So I'm going to put, like I mentioned, I'm putting both of these links in here so you have them
Yeah,
quick and easy.
that'd be great.
And we're actually nearing the end. We didn't want to make this a really long, drawn out interview. So
Yeah, we don't
start,
have to, but like we
start
can,
thinking of those
definitely
questions.
can.
Yeah, I've got a couple more
Yeah.
questions. I just want to prep the crowd that if you've got any questions or comments, be thinking on them right
Exactly.
now. We'll open it up and we'll, Jude and I could probably chat for quite a while longer, but I just don't
Oh,
want anyone to feel they don't have a chance to ask a question
definitely.
too.
Yeah, we can also like ask questions and then like go through some more or something. It doesn't much matter to me, but
Awesome.
definitely I'd love to hear what people like have ideas of.
Yeah, that's a great point too. You know, where do you, if you're watching right now, where do you see some of these gaps? You know,
Yeah.
what for someone like Tanya or Marine or anyone else thinking the same, what makes you feel like this is like covering an, like what else is missing maybe in, let's call it, the system, and the
Mhm.
reason why guys like Judah are filling a really important need there. And maybe there's other areas that, you know, as a parent or a grandparent, you might be thinking, I'd love to be able to share this type of knowledge or information with my kid, and that might be the idea for the next book or YouTube clip. So by all means, we want
Maybe.
to get you guys thinking
Yeah,
about that type of
definitely.
stuff.
Well, I always want to hear like people's information at the end of YouTube videos. No one really leaves that many comments, but I honestly would love to have people's ideas.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's an underrated thing. People, you know, unfortunately with comments, sometimes it's usually someone on the
Mhm.
more negative side, but the positive ones of just even saying, "Hey, this was really great." That's the
Yeah.
confirmation you need to
Well,
send
like
and do
yeah,
another one.
even like the good, the negative ones, like just all of them. Why you agree, why you disagree. It's just it's feedback and it's needed.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great view. I have a couple more questions before I'll double check the
Yeah,
comments
for
here.
sure.
So were you always an entrepreneurial kind of guy? Now I'm hearing the Gem
Um,
Museum story. It in a little
mhm.
sort of way kind of fell into your lap a bit, but you obviously had to have that knack and that
Yeah.
feeling. So did that start at an earlier age, or was it just you thought this was a great opportunity and you wanted to push through?
Um, I'm not sure. I guess I've kind of always tried kind of more entrepreneurial things. Like I had a lemonade stand when I was really young, which I'll be honest is a terrible way to make money. Um, but yeah, I guess I kind of always have been, which is kind of funny because when I was younger, I kind of had the idea of yeah, I'd get like some minimum wage job and that's how I go through life, which has kind of changed up for me. But I guess I've kind of always been little bits entrepreneurial. And my family definitely helps with that. My father has definitely been an entrepreneur. He's had multiple businesses. He's had like 20 years in graphic design work and such. So
Wow.
I definitely come by it a little bit naturally.
Right.
And his information is really great. It's really great.
That's awesome. You know, whether or not they intend to, entrepreneurial parents, they do rub off on you. I grew up in the
They
same
really do.
household. You just hear those dinner
Yeah.
table conversations, and I wanted to mention too. You know, you talked about the lemonade stand. It's like I know
Mhm.
exactly what you're talking about. You know, slinging things at a garage sale, like cookies or
Yeah.
lemonade or whatever, and for sure, not it's not your you know your path to millions of
No,
dollars
but
by any
it's a
stretch,
start.
but exactly, and it gives you good
Yeah.
experience, right? It's just the simple idea of this is I bought these many dollars worth of things, I sold them for this, and I spent
Yeah.
the time to do it. It gives you really good perspective there.
Yeah, I forget what video I was watching exactly, but this guy he goes up to people with like expensive cars and he asks them what they've done for a living. And this one guy he asked what he first started and he said selling carpets, which I found was really interesting.
It starts
But
somewhere. You know, it's almost like the more obscure thing that you start with, the better.
yeah,
Because right, you're
exactly.
getting very, you know, that's raw sales experience right
Yeah.
there, right? You're not selling some sort of really coveted, you know, it's not toilet paper in the middle of a pandemic or something like that that's flying off the shelf. You got to go with something a little basic because it gets you to hone your ability a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
I have another
Mm,
question for you here too.
yeah, for sure.
This is a bit of a broader kind of, you know,
All right.
nearing the end of our chat type of question, and by all means, for anyone watching, if you know you've tuned in and maybe you weren't able to you know kind of get settled enough to ask things, Judah very well might be a guest of ours on
Yeah.
another thing if he's willing to join, because I feel that we
Yeah,
could
that'd
really
be great.
dissect these topics more. Today's more about a bit of an intro.
Oh,
But
I could probably go on for hours, but I know
yeah, yeah.
we both
We'll
have
we'll make
things
sure
to do.
we're doing some more. So my question that will be maybe a closing one, unless another comment pops up. And appreciate the comments people have made so far, just saying
Yeah.
thanks and things like that. Judah, where do you see yourself going in the future? Do you think you might have a career in finance or business
Um,
more likely?
well, I'm kind of already in business.
True, true.
um, I'd say I have financial goals, but I'm not too sure about like future plans because things are changing so rapidly on a regular basis, and it's really hard to plan like 10 years ahead of time.
Hmm.
Which it's great to have like plans and stuff, but things are changing so rapidly nowadays. It's just it's insanity. You have to go day by day. But I'd say I'd say financial goals though, I'm hoping probably a million by the time I'm 25. But
Love it.
I'm at $350,000 in hard assets at the moment. But hopefully a million by the time I'm 20. I also have an option to open a secondary museum um, just outside of I forget where, but it's in Israel, and it's called Beit Shemesh is where it's located. And I have the option to open a secondary museum there and curate my own wing.
Wow.
So
How do you, so I'm gonna have to dive into this a little bit. Um,
yeah,
first of all, love the goals and the ambition, right? This is, guys, this is remarkable. We're talking about someone who's 16. Most of the time, I mean, for me, even though I had a path that kind of was, a little bit in front of me in terms of what I knew I wanted to do, you ask someone who's in the middle of high school with their career and ambition, most people are like, oh, geez, like I haven't even thought about it, right? So I
most of
love
my
what you guys
friends.
are there, Judah, because that's important, right? It's not necessarily for everyone, and no one, you don't need to have your life
Yeah,
sorted out at 16. But
it's
if you
yeah,
would
it's definitely not
want to
for
think
everyone.
about that, it's great to get the conversation going, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
the possible museum in Israel, how does one get a connection to out there? Do you have
Um.
yeah, how does that
Well,
work, I guess?
my family's Jewish actually,
Oh,
but
okay.
we were I believe his name is Rabbi Slivkin. I don't want to butcher it at all. But I believe that's what his name is. And we were talking, and yeah, as I said, I have this option to move into this and curate my own wing in this multi-million dollar facility. But I'm not too sure how I started the contact of him because we've been chatting for quite a while, and from a day to day, it's very difficult to remember all the things you've done. It's it's kind of that's why I need help writing my books and everything, because on a day to day basis, it's regular to you. Like if you had to break down your day, it's the same old, but there might be like tiny differences that other people can see. But yeah, I can't remember exactly how we got chatting.
No worries at all. I
Yeah,
think the gist of it is what I'm gathering is that the world is global now, right?
it
Like that
is.
you have family,
Information is at
friends,
everyone's
one,
fingertips.
yeah, and a message I'd say for anyone watching is, you know, Judy, you're a good example of like it doesn't matter. You don't need to, be some sort of 30 years experience business person to reach out and make
No.
meaningful connections, especially in a place like Saskatchewan. If you are
Yeah.
a person watching, or if you watch and you involve your kids in this conversation and they have an interest, reach out to people. There's a lot of people that would love to just share advice and share, wisdom and just experience. And
Hmm.
it goes a long way because Judy, you nailed it. We can't do this all on our own, right? Where you have these network of
Yeah.
people that support
It's
you, and
well, you can do it on your own. It's just very difficult.
yeah, well,
But
absolutely, absolutely. That's the toughest way to do it for sure. So if you have an easy path and you can connect with someone and get from a little bit from their experiences,
mhm.
it adds up for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. It's very interesting because we've got this wide web full of so much information, but we don't know what's true and what's not anymore. It's kind of
Yeah.
It's
It,
it's boggling.
it's a bit of an overload at a certain point.
Yeah.
We have I'll read one last comment and then I'll
Oh
close
yeah.
us off here. Marine jumped in again and said, so good to see this kind of creativity. We need to promote this so much more in our children and youth, challenge them to use their imagination. Way to go, Judah. That's amazing. She's a fan. She's buying the books. Love it. I love it, Marine. Thanks for joining us. And, one other thing I'll mention too, for if you have kids or if you're someone watching that's in high school, elementary school, what an area that's been really good that I haven't gone through myself, but junior achievement in Saskatoon. I've heard really good things. I met some of the students, high school students that set up kind of not mock businesses, even set up real businesses where they created some sort of good that they sold. And what impressed me a lot when I talked to these students, this was when I was in university at the time, was they had a good understanding of, revenue, expenses, profit, cost of goods sold, kind of basic things. It really is not,
Hmm.
overly complex. But if you ever want to be involved in business, those are some of the terminology that you need to be familiar with. Judah, I'm sure you know plenty about that. But the average
Decent
person,
amount.
it's not something that they're familiar with. So there's good programs out there, and there's good places that you can learn, like Judah's YouTube channel, for example. I do have one question here from Pat. Well, we'll do this one, and then we'll
Yeah.
wrap up. Which was, what was your parents' influence for you to follow your dreams? So,
I'm not really sure I understand exactly, but what was my parents like? I'm assuming it's how, like, how was it like enthusiastic? And I'd say
yeah.
it was very enthusiastic. Um, Definitely even just mowing lawns. My family was very enthusiastic about it, and um it definitely helps.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's very difficult to continue with something when people aren't enthusiastic about it and constantly kind of like go you kind of thing. But I'd say if like none of your family is like enthusiastic about it, find someone who is enthusiastic about it because it definitely does help. And sometimes doing that day-to-day thing, you don't see the little minute problems with it that could make it better.
That is absolutely great advice, Judah. If you're a parent watching this and your kid's trying something new, you have to let them go for it. I find, like, and support it and be
Yeah,
enthusiastic.
like
And even
I
if
feel
it
like
might
all
not work
the
at all, right? Let them do it and
mhm.
throw your
It,
support.
yeah, it definitely might not work. I would definitely say, like, before you get into it, have all the knowledge, not to discourage them, but just to let them know, because just even like everyone and their grandmother wants to be a YouTuber nowadays, right? But it's definitely not easy. If you love it though, go for it. It's passion, makes you happy, do it. Music, do it. It's not easy, but if it makes you happy, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No, it's fantastic advice. It's interesting the way you worded that, Judah, about if the people right around you aren't passionate or excited about what you're doing, find those people who are.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone through a lot of, let's call it, like, business learnings and education and coaching programs and things, and that's something that people, age 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, that's a message that gets told to them, and for some of them that's the first time it's really sinking in and they're thinking. So the fact that you've kind of, you have that awareness
Yeah.
of it at the age you're at is so impressive. Like, people again haven't heard that type of thing, and until they take a $10,000 business course and they get told, "Hey, check out your environment. Do you have people that
Yeah,
are
you
your
you
cheerleaders,
learn
or
a
do you
lot
have people
listening to
that are
people.
pulling you back?" It's absolutely bang on advice.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because for the first little while, I did living in a small town, there aren't a lot of people your age, and usually some of them are more what's a polite word of saying it? Not very kind and empathetic as most people are. And so I spent a lot of more time hanging around the senior center actually and talking with them. You learn a lot
Mm-hmm.
from older people. Not everyone older though is right. Everyone has things right about and things they're wrong about, and so you kind of have to like take that information and kind of dissect it and see like what matches up and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's bang on. Again, another thing that reminds me of some of the coaching that I've done where they say, surround yourself by a lot of different perspectives and opinions, and you don't
Yeah.
need to emulate that person exactly. Just take the one
No.
thing that you really love that they do and say and try and, become a bit more like that.
Mhm.
And then take the one thing that you love that this person does and try and be a bit more like that, right?
Yeah, who you hang around definitely does
Exactly.
dictate kind of what you do. You'll pick up even just like little things of things they do, because usually in the friend group you'll probably be about the average, or sometimes you will like try and go for people that do more things, instead of taking advice on the stock market from your neighbor where like half of his roof is falling out. Maybe go for like someone who knows more about it. I don't particularly think investing in the stock right idea anyway. For wealthier people, though, it's definitely advantageous to keep turning that money instead of just letting it sit there and depreciate.
Mhm.
But for the average person, I don't think I completely recommend it. But that's my view on it, right?
No, no, and that's definitely fair. And like you said, we talked about it earlier. There's information from every corner of the world now that you can access. So yeah,
Oh
don't
yeah,
listen. You don't need to listen to the old buddy from school or the person, your neighbor, unless you've
yeah,
got some good things you want to hear. And pop on
exactly.
YouTube. Go find. There's experts everywhere sharing really great knowledge. Be be uh, be diligent that you don't just listen to everything you see, but the
Yeah,
access is there.
exactly.
Your access is there. So it makes it easier than it ever has been, I feel.
Yeah, it definitely makes it easier, but it also does make it more difficult because everyone and their dog on the internet thinks they're right. Um, I forget whose quote it was, but it's if you ever want to figure out the right answer, the fastest is to post the wrong one,
That's
because everyone will want to
yeah,
correct you, but not everyone will want to share it freely.
yeah, it's bang on. It's again, it's a funny world that we're living in now. I'm gonna read another comment here. It just
Yeah,
says
definitely.
from Pat, just saying, Judy, you're an incredible young man. I know that you're impressing a lot of people. You and I chatted before, but being able to dive deeper has, even for me, shown me that obviously you have a lot of experience that you've drawn over the even just a few short years.
I've got a good amount. I've got a good
Yeah,
amount.
that's
I've
awesome.
got a good
And
amount.
and because you and I could chat forever, and then that would leave us with less to talk about next time. And I'm pretty convinced we'll do something again.
Definitely
We'll
will.
dive into something here. Any
Yeah.
last thoughts or comments from you, Judah?
Not particularly. I agree though. I could probably talk your ear off for hours, but then we wouldn't have anything to talk about the next time. Um, yeah, not terribly. I could definitely expand more on things like I want to do with the museum and such, but we can also leave that for like another time, definitely, so that we actually have something to talk about.
Let's save that then. We got to leave the people
Yeah,
wanting more, right? So those are
exactly.
some of your teasers for anyone watching. Those are some of the
Yeah,
topics that we
and
might.
honestly, I definitely would recommend like if you're wandering through the week and you have something, write it down. And if we do another one of these, ask it.
Mhm.
Write it down in a little book and just ask it, because I love people asking questions. I don't have all the answers, but I love questions.
Love it. Yeah, and that's again, I'll further encourage you to, if you're watching this, post, the live video, comment your questions, send them direct to us on Facebook too, if you want to just send a
Yeah,
message in to us. And it could be, an idea for the next topics we chat on. It could be a question about something Judah mentioned today. And him and I will be in touch, and I'll definitely be able to make sure that things are getting answered. Another comment from Marine again. You got some fans you created today, Judah. Again, such a thoughtful, brilliant, passionate young man. Thanks again. Really enjoyed watching this. I
I'm
enjoyed being
glad.
a part of this, Judah. This gets me excited. I love
Yeah,
what
I'm really glad as
love
well.
business mind. I love it. And again, I think we can be having another conversation. We'll dive into some other
Yeah.
topics. But thank you again for joining. Thank you for taking the time out of the day.
Thank you
And
for
thank you.
taking time out of your day. My
Absolutely.
schedule is
Absolutely.
pretty flexible, but it's really nice for people to be doing it.
Yeah. No, that's
It's really
cool. I
enjoyable.
appreciate it too. And thanks everyone for watching. We will see you next time and hope everyone has a good rest of the day and week. Bye.